Cool. So this is the Todd Capital Millionaire Podcast. This is episode number 64. My name is Charles Oglesby, also known as Todd Millionaire, the founder and the director of the Todd Capital Investment Club. We have over 210 members. Also the founder of Todd Acquisitions. We currently own 2 properties, in the process of closing on 2 more properties in the same month. That's our real estate firm. And then also the founder of Todd Ventures. We're still working on growing Todd Ventures. But thank you all for tuning in. The purpose of this podcast is to share the stories of successful African-American investors and business owners so that people can hear the stories of successful examples because they exist. And I want you guys to learn that business and investing are the true keys to financial success and generational wealth. With us today, we have Mr. Demetrius Wright. He goes by DW Real Estate on Instagram. Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate you being flexible. I've been trying to get on for a little while now. We've connected for the last couple of weeks, and I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to share my tips, tricks, stories, any type of value I can bring to your audience. That's what I'm here for.
Very cool, man. So can you tell us how you got started in real estate?
Absolutely. I am born and raised Northeast Ohio, small suburb, Eastlake, Ohio, about 15 minutes east of Cleveland. And I've been in Akron, Ohio for the last 3 years now. And to fast forward, I guess specifically how I got in real estate is I'd say I first and foremost dove into the entrepreneurial arena. Definitely subscribed to the mentality of not exchanging my time for money. And I've had some peers that I've been privileged to be connected to that were already in the real estate space. And I have an extensive sales background from my time in the employee quadrant. And I figured, hey, might as well dive into that real estate space on the traditional sales side. But all along, I knew I was supposed to be in the investing space. But me, like so many people, feel like the segue into the industry is getting a license. I do have a real estate license in the state of Ohio. But at this point in time, I only carry that license for the sole purpose of my investing business. I don't prospect for traditional retail business, but I do list my own fix and flips. And,
Nice.
I may do some traditional things selectively for friends and family, but got into that space because, again, it's the profits are attractive to me. And again, I'm subscribed to a mentality of profits over wages. I like being in an arena, in an environment where there is no ceiling. And I like being in the environment where, my income is a direct correlation of my efforts and my knowledge. So real estate I read the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, like many of us in the space have, and jumped in head first. So real estate is definitely what I do. I eat, sleep, breathe real estate, and so far so good. I've been licensed for 3 years now, and been on the investing side for 18 months now, and so far so good.
Cool. So I have 3 questions lined up.
Sure.
The first question is, what brought you to Ohio? The second question is, how did you get started investing? And the third question is, how has having a license helped you be a better investor?
Sure. Well, I'm born in Detroit, Michigan, but I've been in Ohio, I pretty much say born and raised in Ohio since I was 15 months maybe. And so Ohio is where I've been my whole entire life. I love Northeast Ohio. I thought about moving at certain times of my life to bigger, brighter cities, markets. But I'm a family man. This is a great place to raise a family. The cost of living is phenomenal. It's, we get all 4 seasons. We don't have crazy wildlife. We don't have crazy natural disasters. It's a beautiful place to be. I love the Rust Belt. I love the blue collar. I consider myself to be a real gritty in a good way, cold winters, get up, hustle, grind, blue collar type of guy. So that's what I love about Ohio, this market, this region of the country. And how I got into investing was I spent some, like I say, I feel like a lot of people's think the segue into real estate is sales, traditional sales. I'm going to get my license. I'm going to be a realtor. I'm going to, step into the sales space. And I did that for about 18 months. But in my own personal opinion, being a realtor, especially a one-man band realtor, if you're not really modeling the Gary Keller real estate agent model and building out a team, if you're a one-man band agent, there's just too much non-income producing activity as a traditional realtor, in my opinion. So I learned very, very quickly in about 18 months that that's not the side of the fence that I wanted to be on, and went back to my rich dad roots, I guess you would say, prior to getting my license and jumping into real estate full time. I took the 3-day weekend class. They got me. I read the book. They sent me an email. I took the 3-day class, but had no idea about wholesaling and investing and what they were talking about. And I thought I needed $100,000 just to get started or do anything. So fast forwarding, I did okay on the traditional retail side and listing houses and helping buyers, and saved up enough capital to where I just connected with investors. I knew that's the side I wanted to be on. I was attracted to the TV shows, and it seemed like something that was real, the cool thing to do, the sexy thing to do. It still is, although it's nothing like what they, show on the TV show. But it's still something that's just very fun. There's so many different aspects on the investing side of the fence opposed to, the traditional retail sales side that I'm attracted to. So I connected with everybody in my marketplace that was doing it. And I just came from a place of contribution. I leached on to local investors and I served them. I'm also subscribed to the serving mentality and reaching out to people, not necessarily like, hey, I want to do what you do. Tell me everything you know, but how can I contribute and how can we exchange value? The lifestyle looks like something that I'm attracted to. The income, the profits look like something I'm attracted to. So, I had a limited set of skills, but a ton of time and an unparalleled work ethic. So I literally leached and attached myself to people in the business and just served them for free, for the game, for the exchange of the game. And, that type of attitude, mentality has grown and turned into some fantastic partnerships and relationships and people that saw, my energy, if nothing else. A lot of people say, oh, I don't have the money. I don't have the resources. I don't have the relationships, and may not even have the knowledge, depending on where they're at in their career. But if you got a good energy and it got a good hustle, you can latch yourself on to some seasoned people that are just attracted to that. The energy is a real thing and energy is valuable. So, connecting with as many people as I could and discovering how I can exchange value, with those people, and literally serving and doing a lot of things for free, a lot of things that don't necessarily produce a lot of income, but just soaking up the game in exchange, till I could stand on my own 2 feet.
Yeah. One thing I've talked about on Twitter and I've talked about on my blog is a lot of people, when they think about a business, they think about, oh, I have to invest money into my business.
Sure.
But they don't realize that a lot of that money is extracted by your effort.
Sure.
And so basically there's a monetary value on your effort.
Absolutely.
So if you don't have the money, you might have the effort. And that's
Mm-hmm.
the same thing as investing money into a business, investing money into your career. So what you're saying is everything I subscribe to. I'm not sure if you follow Gary Vee, but it's exactly what he says. He's like, you attach yourself to somebody who's in the industry that you want to be in, and you work for free.
Absolutely.
So what was it like working for free? Because I think that a lot of people, when they hear the idea of working for free, they turn their nose up at it. They're too good to work for free. They're valuable. What would you say to that?
Well, I understood the value that I can bring. I understood where I was at in my career. I understood the limited resources I had. I understood the limited knowledge that I had. And to your point, I knew I could work. I knew I had great energy. And so I didn't look at it as me working for free. I looked at it as, how can I make an exchange? And of course, I couldn't exchange money. I couldn't exchange knowledge. I couldn't exchange resources. So, the effort in exchange for that hands-on, behind-the-scenes experience to me was a win-win. You know what I mean? So you have to, when you're looking at it like, I'm not necessarily working for free, that doesn't feel like a win-win. I'm exchanging my efforts and my time and the little resources and skills that I had in exchange for, I look at it as I get to practice on other people's projects, other people's money, other people's, to me, it was like, people are paying for these type of services. People pay for, give me $1,500. I'll let you follow me around. I'll show you some rehabs. We can split jack and listen to these calls. And I came in and said, instead of me paying for that, I can exchange and I can put out your bandit signs. I can run to Home Depot. I can manage your projects. And I was just soaking up so much game that other people were paying for. So to me, it wasn't, I didn't view it as me working for free. I viewed it as, this person has something that I want. This person is active. Number one, I was only exchanging that, what I call services, for people who are active in the business to where I can get something in return. So I didn't look at it as working for free. I looked at it as making an exchange, and I didn't have money to exchange. I didn't have resources or relationships, but the effort in exchange for the experience at no cost, all I got to do is deploy energy and effort to get this hands-on experience. It was a win-win for me. So,
I think that that's a huge hack. There's so many people that they want to be something, they want to be somewhere, they want to know certain people, and they're limiting themselves when they could kind of crack that code if they just would hustle.
Absolutely.
It's like, that's it. Like, just go apply yourself, hustle, and you can get whatever you want.
Absolutely.
So,
and that's one thing that I'm has been a challenge, and I've been kind of seeking advice from, I would like to not turn the tables. This is definitely your thing, but any opportunity I get, I like to ask people, as I'm just now starting to elevate in my career, for lack of better words, people are starting to reach out to me, and I'm challenged in a sense that it rubs me the wrong way. Not to say that everybody has to think like I think, that when people just reach out and expect like, hey, I see you doing your thing, like, let me, but I feel like, you got to come from a place of contribution. I can't just give you the game. You know what I mean? So your DMs are full, I'm sure. My DMs are starting to blow up, and it's like, I have to pray like, Lord, help me. I'm blessed to be a blessing, and it's in my heart to give back and to contribute. But, just kind of touching on where we're at right now, it's like, speaking of, now that the tables are starting to turn and I want to give, but it's almost like I'm more attracted to people who come from a place of contribution more so than you got something that it looks like I want. Keyword looks like what you want. You don't even know yet, honestly. But just, people, I feel like people just need to come from a place of contribution. If I were to want your time and service, I say, hey, can I take you to lunch? Can I exchange the value? So,
I think that a lot of people listen to this show and they're always, they get a lot of knowledge, they get a lot of wisdom, and they get a lot of game. And I think that what you said is meant to help them. And I think that as we help each other, we actually help ourselves. And so many people, they want to like extract value without giving value. And they don't realize, like, if you give something, you're probably going to get a lot more value out of the relationship than if you just sat back waiting for somebody to sprinkle some game on you.
Absolutely.
And one thing I've experienced is when you work with somebody, you kind of are forced to tell them some of your secrets, because you can't even have your system really function properly if they're not in the know.
Absolutely.
So if somebody really wants to elevate themselves, for anybody listening to this, the best thing to do is to come to somebody and add value. Find out where you can help them, find out what they need, and provide it. And Gary Vee said the same thing in Crushing It. He said that there's a lot of people who they're sending out these DMs all the time, sending out these DMs. And Gary Vee said that he ignores those DMs. He said he ignores them, even though he tells people to send them, because they're doing it the wrong way. And the right way is to say, how can I help you? And actually provide that help without expecting something in return. Just do it to help. Just do it to provide value, add value, give them deals, whatever, and it'll come back to you tenfold.
Absolutely. 5149, that's what he says. And I like that. And again, it's all about coming from a place of contribution. Me, especially when there's nothing that I dislike more than I don't even know you. I don't know if I like you. I don't know if we're in the same vein. I don't know if we're in the same stratosphere. So, build some type of rapport, earn the right. You have to earn the right to sell somebody something. You have to earn the right to, your time. Of course, everybody knows time is valuable. Time is money. It's like, just me, just checking the DMs and responding is, it can be burdensome at times once it starts to really,
exactly. In the midst of everything you're already doing, you're working on deals, you're trying to find new deals, and you get a DM, you're like, I got to read this, process it, see if it fits into it's tough. But people expect that response. So like I'm learning, I just kind of shoot off a little quick response, because if you ignore them, sometimes it can be even worse. They'll blow up on you. Absolutely. Even though you're busy, even though it's 100% justified, like people will still get upset. So it's kind of like the what he calls it, the penalty of leadership.
Absolutely.
Man, I was going to add a point to that, and I forgot what it was. So we'll move on. The next question is, what did your first deal look like?
My first deal. Let me think about that. Give me just a quick second. First deal. Well, the first deal looked like I've only been extremely active probably since July of 2017 to where, and you know what I mean by that, like active in it, doing it on my own with partners, without partners, but actually actively doing it since July. So I'm probably about a dozen deals in. And first deal, I really don't have a story that's out of the norm. I use bandit signs. That's my number one lead generator as of right now. And a nice lady called, or you know what? That wasn't my first deal. Well, a gentleman called off one of my bandit signs, and he had a dumpy house in North Akron. And I met him. I stopped what I was doing right then and there. As soon as it came through, my lead capturer, for lack of better words, called him back, stopped what I was doing, met him there, made an all cash offer right then and there. It was like $9,000. And I'm actually renting that house right now. That was a house that I actually bought to fix it up and resell it. But it's a 1-bed, 1-bathroom, 500 square feet in not so great of a neighborhood. And I was just excited. I got a deal. Somebody called. It's a real seller. He wants to meet. He's motivated. I got cash. We made an offer. And, but I tried to sell that house for $29,000. Couldn't. Just a real small house. So I'm renting it for $550 now. But in terms of learning lessons in that particular deal, for the sake of, delivering value to your audience, that particular one, and I really don't have a whole, in the deals that I've done thus far, I don't have anything like really glaring that's out of the norm of epic failures or crushing successes. The only thing that I can say at this point, well, first and foremost, just to give clarity, what I do specifically in the real estate space, and I'm going to contradict myself because I can't stand when I meet people and they say, well, what do you do? Oh, I do a little bit of everything. It's like, I'm always leery. And then you walk away and you still don't really understand, like, so what does that person do? But in the real estate space, I do a little bit of everything. I manage probably about 30 rental properties, have about 13 rental properties of my own. But as of the last 6 months, I've been extremely, extremely heavy in residential suburban fix and flips, single family suburban fix and flips in Akron and the surrounding suburbs, pretty much all of Summit County, Ohio. Really, really heavy in managing the rehabs and the construction part, not necessarily doing it myself, but managing residential suburban fix and flip. So for the purpose of, again, bringing your audience in value and learning lessons in my first couple deals, because I still consider myself, new in the game, understanding your market. I got really romantic in my rehabs in terms of wanting to make them really, really nice and doing what I saw on the shows until it took me, number one, these rehabs that were supposed to take me 6 to 12 weeks took me 4 to 6 months because I don't have a system of, we put this in every kitchen, we put this in every bathroom, we put this on one paint color, everything was custom in my first 6 rehabs, everything custom tile that that's not, on stock at Menards or Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever I'm, getting my materials from. And understanding my market in the sense that when I get ready to list them, of course, I'm at the top of the market values. ARVs are appropriate, but I'm getting my butt kicked on appraisals because I'm just now at this point, 8 months in the game, probably about 8 rehabs in, understanding that you don't get a ton of value. Well, an appraiser doesn't give you a ton of value on your property because your countertops are granite opposed to Formica, your floors are tile opposed to wooden plank, at least in the Ohio market. I'm sure it's different in Southern California, Southern Florida, Texas. But I got really romantic in the sexiness of making things really, really nice, making things really, really custom. So the first couple of flips, big flips, I actually haven't made a ton of money. Been kind of breaking even, making 5 when I'm thinking I'm supposed to make 25 and only making 5 or 6 because not only do the nice things cost more money, but they take more time, small tile versus big tile, et cetera, et cetera. So without being too long-winded, that's where I'm at. I don't have any outlandish seller stories or, I haven't had any deals that have gone really, really bad at this point or like really, really crushed it at this point. I do subject to deals. I assign contracts. I'm not a wholesaler, but sometimes I have excess inventory. I only have a crew that's so big and I can't, if I find out that I have 3 properties in the pipeline and I'm scheduled to close on them all and I'm not sitting on liquid, I got to call an industry partner and, see if I can not have to close on that. So that's what I mean, I guess, when I say I do a little bit of everything. Every investment is deal specific. I buy and hold, I fix and flip, I manage. So,
yeah. One of the things that you said in the very beginning was that you bought the property thinking you were going to flip it and you ended up renting it. And I think it's important for people to know, like, a lot of the reason why people don't start is because they don't want to get stuck. And so they don't want to buy a deal and they end up in a situation where they either can't sell it, they can't rent it, and they can't do anything with it. But they don't realize there's always an exit strategy. There's so many exit strategies out there that if you buy something, like, the hardest part is getting in the door. Once you have the property, you can Airbnb it, you can rent out rooms, you can lease it, you can sell or finance it. There's so much. And I think that so many people, that's what keeps them from getting into deals, is they don't want to have a deal and they're like, oh, I can't manage the payments. Or, oh, now I'm stuck. My money's stuck in the deal. But typically, you can, if you buy it all cash, you can put debt on it. You can pull all your money out.
Absolutely.
And so that's kind of what I took from that, is that you did a deal, and every time you do a deal, you learn something.
Absolutely.
And you probably learn more on the first deal than you probably learned through all the education and all the books and all the podcasts. You'll learn more in that first deal when you start really putting your feet to the pavement.
Absolutely.
And then as you do each deal. So how has what you've learned doing the first deal and then doing the deals with the slimmer margins, how has that experience allowed you to do even better deals now?
Well, like you said, just first and foremost, owning it. When things don't go the way that I necessarily plan. Making quick adjustments. That's another thing that I've done. This industry has kind of reconditioned me to do, adjust quickly. It doesn't necessarily have to be a failure, but because there's multiple exit strategies, because there's, it's just so many aspects of the industry in its entirety to where if you can adjust, bend but not break and say, hey, I wanted to flip this house. If I can't flip it and sell it, it's a failure. Yeah. I couldn't sell it. You got to adjust, make an adjustment, do something different. So it's just pretty much just taught me just study, research. I mean, I'll never know everything in the space. I mean, it's too loaded of an industry. There's too many moving pieces to know everything. So, just be humble about it. I don't know everything about, and I have partners. I want to be very clear too. Although I'm the one talking right now, I work with probably like maybe one or two people on a regular, consistent basis. But there's designers that I'm not afraid to consult and say, hey, I don't, at this point, I don't get romantic with the design. I don't get too big-headed to call a partner. I don't. So, you got to adjust quickly, and the numbers are the numbers. The market is going to tell you what a house is worth, what somebody wants to pay for it, what I can buy it for. My rehab numbers, you make your money when you buy the house. You got to rehab smart. So you got to have great systems to where you can track and measure. Where did you spend? Where's the money going? And look at it and own it. If it's not right and it's your fault, do it better next time. So, I pay close attention to every aspect from acquisition to actually when the funds are wired. I break it down and I look at it after the fact. Well, before, during, and after the fact. And if it's not what I like or thought, I just own it and adjust quickly. So
cool. I think there's a ton of value in that. People who are just going to listen to this and they're going to learn that, everything you're saying is true, 100%. Where do you see your career going from here?
I see real estate being a vehicle for speaking opportunities. I really have a passion to, one thing that you say that I like is anybody can do this. This is, I'm just so blessed and so much better than I deserve to be. I'm not going to get into a long story about my past, and I don't have a crazy, past that's out of the norm of anything that anybody's heard. But, I've definitely made some tremendous mistakes and been stuck in certain places and seasons of my life to where I thought, I'll never be able to make X amount of money. I'll never be able to live a certain lifestyle. I'll never be able to. So, my biggest asset is my energy and my lust for life. And just really understanding that, just pouring into people and inspiring people like, hey, anybody can do it. So I see this accelerating me because I'll be honest with you, as much as I love the grittiness, the grind, I can see the burnout coming. I feel, but I've almost embraced it though. I understand that it's coming. Anybody doing anything great, I'm not really concerned with work-life balance. I got a wife and 5 kids. She supports me. It's my season. So she's kind of like, do your thing, but it's getting sickening, but that's a good thing. I love the grind. I love it. But, I like to consider myself, if we want to bring it back to rich dad, poor dad, or real estate philosophy, a business owner. So I have to get out. I'm at a point right now, just 8 months in being active, to where I'm coming out of the hustle and the self-employed part of the quadrant into the owner part. And I'm trying to discipline myself to sit down and actually build the system. So I'm trying to, hiring people, delegating assignments like signs. And it's like, I love that type of stuff though. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because coming from where I come from, it's like, I'm just privileged to, I still want to put out the signs. I want to earn every single penny,
Yeah.
and I love the work. It just makes me feel good at the end of the day. But understanding that in order to scale, it's not about taking my foot off the gas. It's about scaling and becoming and moving into that business owner side. And so I see myself teaching, speaking, and even right now as we speak, I'm gonna, once we're done here, I'm back at the office. The kids are asleep, and this is the opportunity for me to build. The phone's not gonna ring. There's no emails that can happen. I can't hustle. Home Depot's closed. I can't, So building the systems for me to hand to the person who comes from contribution in the DMs and says they really want this. Like, okay, great. Here's a system that I can plug you all the way into. So teaching, speaking, and just being a community influencer. I love Akron, Ohio. I love my community. I got 5 kids. They're all in school. Well, not all of them are in school, but just really ingraining myself in the community that I'm involved in, my church, and just making an impact. My pastor always says influence is better than money. So, I'm trying to see what that feels like.
Yeah. I was going to say that it's a mentality shift when you step back, because we manage all our deals, and I'm getting to the point where like I feel as though I'm cheating by even considering hiring a property management company.
Right.
and I feel as though I'm cheating by hiring a realtor to screen for tenants. And I think that you have to kind of force yourself out of that line of thinking. If you're going to become wealthy, if you're going to get rich, you have to get yourself out of the mentality of thinking that you have to earn every cent that you make. Otherwise, there's a limit on how much money you can make. No matter how much you make per hour, you're going to make a bunch of money per hour, but still there's so many hours per day. So I think that what you're going through is what I'm going through. And I'm trying to kind of transition out of that and learn that like you got to get in the business of hiring experts. And once you get that expert, they just master that task, it'll make everything flow better. And you won't make less, because I think a lot of people, what they do, the reason why they hold on to doing everything is they want to squeeze every penny out of their business.
Sure.
They're like, I brought in this many deals and I want every single profit.
Sure.
But we had a conversation with Marlon, and he said that usually what happens is you start focusing on the revenue generating activities while somebody else is stapling up signs. So you're focusing on going to other markets. You're like, you know what? Akron is cool. Let me get more blocks in Akron. Let me get more area in Akron. Let me scale this process. I'll have 10 guys putting up signs instead of just me putting up signs.
Absolutely.
So that's why I always tell people that like it's the business that really generates wealth. Real estate is great. Real estate's huge. Rental income is great, but business is everything, man. Like
absolutely,
it's the complete multiplier. So you said that you went through some things. Do you feel as though those kind of motivated you to really go after it now? Like, do you feel like certain experiences in your life actually elevated you instead of holding you back?
Absolutely. I definitely do. But like everything else in my life, I like to, I'm not the person that says, hey, these things happen to me and, I'm unfortunate and I came from the mud and like, no, I'm a product of, I grew up in the suburbs and I grew up in the hood or anything like that. I'm a product of, at one point, I thought I was invincible because of how I came up. And once I got out on my own, I thought I couldn't fail. I came from a good background. I've always had decent work ethic. And I just was out here just a little too careless. And there were no boundaries and no filters and how I was just operating and maneuvering as a professional, as a man. There was just no filters and ended up having some children out of wedlock and wasting a lot of money, ruining my credit, getting in a whole bunch of debt, things like that. Nothing astronomical out of the norm of, I don't have this story that, we so often hear from our culture, our neighborhoods, our communities, our people, and things like that. But just the holes that I put myself in the holes that I were in, fully 100% responsible for the decisions that I made that have, put me in unfortunate situations. So in terms of where I'm at now, I just, I don't even know what I can contribute it to, but just understanding that I could change the channel. Like we're in control, you don't have to stay there. And, just waking up, putting one foot in front of the next. And then I have a strong faith in God, and, I took one step and he took two. I just got tired of being tired, and I'm still a fairly young person. I had it all, lost it all, got it back again, lost it again. Now I'm, you know what I mean? So I don't know, in a sick way, I don't know if I'm attracted to that type of putting myself in, because maybe I didn't come from the struggle. I put myself in a struggle, or I know I get too comfortable and too lackadaisical. And so, when there's challenges that I have to overcome, I just thrive, in those type of adverse situations. So, but yes, my struggles are definitely a contribute to the mentality that I'm at, and just having a full understanding that it's all about the content that you're subscribed to, from your music, from your peers, from your, and again, you're big on Gary Vee. I'm huge on Gary Vee. Gary Vee, Patrick Bet-David, Tom Ferry, those guys like that, my online mentors. And I don't have time to play the video games and watch TV, and because I just want a lot. I'm not the person that says like, oh, nice things like those. That's not what no. I'm gonna have the Louis bags, the Gucci rags, all of that is for me at some point in time. And just understanding that you got to work to get it. And I'm more than capable of doing it. And I understand that, my community will be better off if I acquire wealth. My family will be better off if I acquire wealth. And a lot of people, it sounds so cliche, but they're only thinking about them, and just understanding the impact that you can have if you put yourself on another level. So again, like my pastor says, influence is better than money. And, I'm kind of chasing for that, dollars come and go. Just really kind of thirsty for, high level influence, high level impact. So
nice. Very cool. Very cool. So what does a day in the life for you look like?
Oh man. Okay. This is going to be fun. Alarm goes off at 6:00. I don't do 5. I'm not the before 5 a.m. I'm not subscribed to that mentality. E.T. the hip hop preacher to 3 a.m. All that, like, no. 6 a.m. And prayerfully, I'm out of the bed by 6:30. So like I said, I have 4 kids in my house, 5 total, 4 sons, a beautiful stepdaughter, and the 3 older ones are in school, 2 babies, and a wife of 3 years as of May 6th. Shout out to my wife, Sharon.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
That's recent, man. It was recent.
Yeah, May 6th was our 3rd anniversary. So alarm goes off at 6. I'm out of the bed 6:15, 6:30. Believe it or not, I'm probably cleaning before everybody gets up. Our nights kind of go late, trying to get everybody put down from the last night. So wife and I end up crashing, clean up a little, wash the dishes, prepare breakfast. I do the breakfast thing. Wife cooks dinners and stuff. I do breakfast. I don't do dinner. Get the kids off to school. They get on the bus. Babies go to school. And I'm in my truck en route to the office or Home Depot. It's one of the two, the office or Home Depot, by 8:30 in the morning. Getting materials for my guys I probably have 3 projects in process right now, and just dropping off material for them and getting back to my office. I have a database that holds the information and CRMs and stuff like that for where all my inbound calls come from, off signs, from all social media. So usually, let's say 9 to 11, I'm on the phone, either making cold calls, calling back sellers, calling back investor partners. I call other signs too. And, if I'm out putting out signs and I see we buy nice houses, we buy pretty houses, we buy, I call all of those. Who are you? What are you doing? What do you like to do? Put me on your buyers list. I'll put you on my buyers list. How can we exchange value? That's not a bad thing, guys.
Yeah.
So making calls 9 to 11 to, let's say 1, 2 o'clock, I head it back out, check on the different projects. Appointments between 11, 12, 1, 2, grab some lunch, all types of different things. You know, I list my properties too. So meeting with other realtors, stuff like that, continuing ed, maybe sometimes. I don't do a whole lot of that anymore, but maybe I'll squeeze something like that in at lunchtime. Between 2 and 4 is appointment time. 2 and 4 is really when I try to schedule all my appointments with sellers. That's just a good time of the day after lunchtime, things like that. Or I'll try to meet with somebody who may have reached out, who just wants to, you know, just my hour of contribution. I've tried to implement something like that, or an hour every day. I get in the DMs or return, or we can meet, or let me show you a project that's in process. Something
that's really
like that.
Smart, actually. That's a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. That way it just gets it off my spirit. Because again, I'm led to give back, but you know, when, how. So that's what I've been doing. And usually around 5, I'll try to hit the projects in process again. The majority of what I'm doing is within I'll call it a 15, maybe 20 at most. My furthest project, mile radius away from my hub, my office, my house. So nothing's too far. So I can usually check in each job site every day just to kind of see the guys before they leave, where we at, you know, what's tomorrow look like, what do you need for tomorrow? And that's it. I usually get back to the office around about 5. And from 6:30 to 8:30, that's family time. Every night, non-negotiable. My wife usually gets home with the kids around 6. That's dinner time, throw the football in the yard time, watch a movie, give the babies a bath, and put them to sleep. You know, I try to help my wife from 6:30 to 8:30 in the morning, and 6:30 to 8:30 in the evening. And after 8:30, most of the time, I'd probably say lately it's been like 2 nights a week, but I try to do like 3 nights a week minimum. I'll leave back out around 9, come back to the office, kind of clean up, you know, the mess. And it's a mess in here, if you can see it. Clean up, get all my affairs in order, make sure I know who I'm supposed to call, make sure all my notes and everything is prepared for the next day. And then I hit signs. I try to put out 75 signs a night. Like I said, it's been more like 1 to 2 times a week. 6 months ago, it was like 5 nights a week. But again, I try to hit all of Summit County, Akron, and surrounding. So I may do a different city each night, 75 signs a night. And usually I'm out till from 9 to maybe 12, 12:30. And then I come home and I go to sleep. And the weekends I'm off. I shut it down on the weekends. I know I said I wasn't really concerned with work-life balance, but with that, you know, I go really hard Monday through Friday, and I shut it down on Saturday and Sunday. If I need to go check in on a house or something like that, real small with the kids in the, you know, in the car, something like that, I will. But Saturday, Sundays, I pretty much shut it down. But through the week, it's 8 to, you know, I'll help my wife in the morning, help her in the evening, and, you know, just grinding in between. So
nice.
Yep.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, it's interesting because I don't shut it down on the weekends, but I don't have any kids. So if I did have kids, my life would probably look a lot different.
Sure.
It'd probably be a lot more systematic like yours is.
Sure.
I like that. Sure. I like the 6 to 8 on both sides of the day. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why do you choose signs as opposed to other marketing efforts or other marketing strategies?
Because, you know, they work. You know, in this market, they work. And in my opinion, well, in my experience and opinion, the cost of the signs, the effort that it takes to put them out. And that's how I got in the game. So I'm kind of conditioned to, based upon the people that I've shadowed under and were mentored by, those are the type of things that I did for them to exchange the value. So it's kind of like, might as well keep that going, you know, and it's working. And, you know, I guess that was something that I just held on to. It was super simplistic. Before I had all these other CRMs and
that makes sense.
Answering services and things like that. And I'm transitioning to more direct sending letters and direct mail and stuff like that. But again, it's so I started getting active by getting 600 signs and putting them out and just answering the calls of the signs. So that is that's something that I can't shake off me as of right now, you know.
It's interesting because I've had conversations with people who wholesale or who find their deals putting out signs, but when you really think about it, it makes a lot of sense. Like you have people who drive by it, so it's not like you're sending a direct letter to a targeted person. So you kind of open up yourself to more people. And then you can post it wherever you see a poll. So you don't have to go find like that person's address. You don't have to dig because, I mean, a lot of those times you have to pay for the mailer and you have to pay for the address of the person through like a list service. That's very interesting. When you put up, are you looking for strictly like wood poles or do you also like find a way to tape it to like metal poles?
Well, I just started using roof nails into like the wood telephone poles. Stretch out. I'm about 6 feet tall. Stretch up as high as I can. 11 o'clock at night. Nobody's around. Boop, boop, to put 2 roof nails right through it, right through the sign. Correlated plastic sign, I believe that's what they are. And I also have signs and stakes that I just put in the ground. I have a little hammer with me. Boom, boom, boom. Every gas station, every school corner, you know, where the kids walk there. You know, every school in Summit County where the moms and dads are walking their kids from, every Walmart, but now I'm trying to like get into the neighborhoods. I'm getting, you know, you got to be careful. I mean, check your local zoning laws and all that good stuff, people. But just trying to like put them on right underneath the stop sign, like in the middle of the residential neighborhood. Any vacant house that I see that has the city ordinances on them and this is vacant, it's being foreclosed. Every single one of those, I put one of my signs right in the middle. Tall grass, hey, I'd rather somebody call me, why the heck did you put this sign?
That makes sense.
How can I help you? I'm a real estate investor. How can I help? You know, just to generate a conversation. So I'm, again, building systems now I am getting kind of fatigued with putting the signs out because that's something that I've done and do all by myself. And I understand that you have to do a high volume of signs, guys. Let me be very, very clear. Anybody thinking about banning signs, if you're not going to get 500 signs out within a 7-day period on a regular basis, don't even think about doing it. Don't order a box of 50 signs and put 50 signs out. You know, the signs have to be, you got to dominate your market with the bandit sign presence. If you're thinking about doing that. So I just wanted to say that. So I'm getting kind of fatigued with that because I do that by myself late at night and then trying to get up with the same zeal and energy in the morning and answer it. It's kind of kicking my butt now, but building that system as we speak to hand it off to somebody else.
Yeah. So it's cool because you're looking for high traffic areas. You're looking where a lot of eyeballs are going to be. Absolutely. So they can see your signs. That's a takeaway that I got from that. Do people take down your signs?
Absolutely. I don't get them. I don't pick up. I've seen where people put them out on Friday nights after all the government officials won't be there and they go get them by Monday. Again, I'm in Northeast Ohio, Akron, Ohio, Summit County, Ohio. The Rust Belt, it's a little different than I'm sure some of the more higher profile, for lack of better words, markets and things like that are. But, and I've gotten calls, you know, from the city officials.
Oh, really?
Don't put them on signs in this city or don't put them in residential, you know, commercial or private, you know. So the thing about it is that number is not my direct cell phone number. I pay for a service who answers the calls and screen, you know, they give them a script. You know, I want to talk to Mr., you know, Happy Buddy buys houses or, you know what I mean? Whatever. You know, that's how I like to operate, real incognito, so I can filter and screen who I need to call. And I do pay attention, like, oh, don't put signs on poles in this cities. Okay, I won't do that. But I'm still just crushing the bandit signs. You know, I like to really dominate the market on the sign presence. So
I think that it's another area where I see a distinction from practice versus book knowledge, because you'll read the book and the book will tell you put up signs. but you've taken it a step further. You have that screening service. You have somebody on the back end who's filtering all your calls.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's what you either learn working and shadowing somebody, or that's what you learn through practice. And so it kind of circles back to the importance of just working. You
Absolutely.
might not like it's just equity. It's called sweat equity for a reason.
Absolutely.
Is like on the upside, somewhere down the line, you're going to make the money that you want to make. You might not make it right now, but that detailed, specific, targeted knowledge that you got, like you said, you just saw it, and that's what you continue to do, and it worked for them, and it worked for you. You didn't have to go out there and guess and try to do a whole bunch of different marketing strategies. You just stuck to one, and you did it until it worked. And a lot of people won't do that because they say, like, if you have any marketing strategy but you don't do it consistently, then none of them are going to work. But you figured it out. So I think that's a huge takeaway from anybody who's listening to this point is it all kind of works together. Like, yeah, you have to hustle. Yeah, you got to learn. Yeah, you got to get the knowledge. Like, it all works together. But I think a lot of people are missing that key, and that key is action.
Sure. Absolutely.
And you got to take action. So huge.
Absolutely.
Huge. And so what are some tips do you have for people who want to get to where you are now?
Number one, come from a place of contribution. Have an attitude, have a spirit, have an energy of contribution. Not, give and it shall be given, the good book says. So speaking to what you said, taking action, I've caught the case of analysis paralysis. I watched every single Gary Vee, every single Tom Ferry, every single Patrick Bet-David, every single, content consumer to the max. I've listened to it all. I've heard it all. And I want the audience to also understand that I've done a lot of non-income producing, not necessarily serving somebody else to get gain, but when I got into the traditional retail space, I've held so many open houses that nobody's come to. Every Friday and Saturday, 2 hours each, 2 open houses on each day for 8 months. You know what I mean? And put out people. I shadowed and mentored people on the retail side. And then once I got on the investing side, I did the same thing. So I've been licensed for 3 years. I've been in the entrepreneurial arena for 3 years. It'll be 3 years in June. And I'm just now, I just said, I've only been active doing what I've been doing for 8 months, but it feels or may appear to be like such an accelerated course because I just planted, you sowed seeds, watered those seeds, by just understanding early on, another point that you made, that I'm in it for the big bag, so to speak, the long game. Gary Vee's, I want to win the game. I don't have to win the first quarter. I don't have to win the second quarter, but come holler at me after when it's all zeros in the fourth quarter, impact, influence, big bag. So you're not gonna, people just don't understand. Literally doing so much stuff that didn't make me any money, that didn't make a lot of sense at the time for a season, not, 2 months, 3 months, like serving somebody and understanding which way to go. And like I said, making those adjustments quickly, whether it be from traditional retail to investing, from shadowing to having the discernment, it's time for me to do my own thing. And so just coming from contribution, serving, with the mentality of exchanging value, not necessarily just giving away. If you're not getting anything back, adjust quickly.
Yeah.
But having a
and I think that's the other side of that thing is, like, if you're doing something for somebody for free and you're not getting any value, you might need to take your services elsewhere as well, because they shouldn't just be taken from you either. They should be giving back. Even if it's not money, they should be giving you back something, whether it's knowledge, exposure, experience, contacts. So,
and that's why, make an exchange. Don't necessarily give away either. Like, I make exchanges. I try to, when I give expecting not to return. But when I'm trying to accomplish something, I make exchanges. So understanding, having a conversation, who are you? What type of philosophies are you subscribed to? Where are you at in your business? How can I how can we make an exchange? You know, with certain people that I met, like I said, to reiterate, I have a small set of skills. These are the skills, but I have a ton of time and a crazy ethic. Can I exchange with you? Absolutely. Do this. Okay, I get to learn how to put out signs and where to put out signs. Oh, people call these, and I get to ask questions right then and there. So, in summary to the question, come from a place of contribution, and you gotta change the channel. You gotta change the mental channel. You know, for me, success is about two things: mindset and skill set. So you have to have the mentality and you have to have the skills. They go hand in hand. You can watch all the videos. You can, you know, you got to have skills. You got to have mentality, mindset, skill set. So if you want to do real estate, I mean, I literally consumed myself with the fix and flip shows, videos, people on Instagram. That's what if you go on my YouTube history, if you go on my Instagram history, I don't even follow people. If you're not growing my spirit, my mind, my physical being, my business, we don't got time for that. You know, if you want something and you really fully, clearly understand what it is you want, you can get it. You know what I mean? But you have to be intentional about it. You know, so if you're not intentional about being wealthy, you're going to be broke on accident. So
I like that. I like that a lot.
You know, I'm super intentional in how I
like
operate
that.
and move and operate. I mean, you can't say you want something and this is how you allocate your time. So be intentional about what you want, come from a place of contribution, and put your head down. When everybody, for some strange reason, a lot of the books, a lot of the people, mentors, there's something about that whole 2 years. You know, Gary V, for 2 years, excuse my language, for 2 years. You know, that 2-year number is a real thing. You know, if you put your head down, stay focused and consistent for 24 months, something's going to come out of that. Or you're just not good. That's not for you, you know. So that's what I got for you.
I like it. I like it a lot. What is your best investing advice?
Leverage partners. You don't have to do it alone.
Yeah.
You can't really scale or do anything really big alone. You need strategic partners. Again, I don't invest alone. I don't, you know, those people that you exchange value with in the beginning, you know, once you prove yourself valuable, expand on that. It's okay to now ask, you know, if you and I come together, we exchange value. I come from a place of contribution, and 6 months later you say it's valuable. It's okay to say, hey, can we do business? How can we evolve this relationship? How can we partner? How can we expand together? How can we, now it's okay to ask for something within reason. And if
because you have equity in that relationship now.
You have equity in the relationship. Absolutely. Partner, leverage partners, leverage other people's money. Become as financially literate as you absolutely possibly can. Money is powerful. It's a real thing. Credit, liquid, get all of it. I'm not a cash is king. Credit, cash, your money, liquid, other people's money, information. You know, that's my number one piece of advice on the investing side. Save, be liquid, or have very, very, very strong partners so that you can make the moves when the opportunity presents itself.
Nice.
So.
Nice. I find that the best questions are asking questions like that.
Absolutely.
So this is off script, but
Sure.
On your Instagram, you made a point that your marriage is a covenant. It's not necessarily an anniversary.
Sure.
What did you mean by that? And why is that so important?
That's important well, first and foremost, it all comes to a commitment. You know, my marriage is a commitment. I made a vow before my family and before God. And you made a commitment to God, to your family, in public, to vows that you said. And the same thing applies to parenting. The same thing applies to business. Once you make your mind up and you commit to something, it's different than an anniversary. Everybody like, oh, I had an anniversary on my, anniversary is something that you can leave. You know what I mean? Third anniversary on this job. I left that job. No more anniversaries. Anniversary, you know what I mean? Covenant is something like, no, that's a commitment till death do us part. It's the next level. It's a spiritual thing. Like I said, my faith is important to me. And that is just because of some of the mistakes that I made in my life. My marriage is symbolic to me as something that I can go to my grave with and say, look, if I don't do anything else right in life, that can be a symbolic representation of something that I committed to unwaverably, if that's for lack of better words, or if that, I don't even know if that's a word, but so I feel like if I can't be disciplined in my marriage and really commit to that, I knowing myself, I don't think I can do anything. I don't think I can do business. I don't think I can do. So that's like the number one thing that I hold near and dear to me that I plan on taking to my grave with me, to say that, that level of discipline and commitment to that, I can, do anything, because marriage is not a natural thing. It's a supernatural thing. So if I can commit to something that takes supernatural strength, supernatural prayer, supernatural belief, then I can conquer the world.
I like it. Who is somebody that you look up to and why?
Somebody that I look up to and why? I'm going to have to say my spouse. I look up to my spouse, Sharon Wright. I'm sure she'll watch this because, again, just to tie back into the marriage thing, the philosophy of our marriage is we wake up every day and just try to outserve one another. Wow. And that level of service and that level of sacrifice that she deploys for our marriage, it's just next level. I wish we wouldn't. I'm about to break down because it's like that type of, it's just a representation of putting someone else before yourself, and just to see that deployed on a daily basis. You know what I mean? For me to be here doing this video and she's at home with 4 kids, it's, and to see symbolic representations of that on a daily basis, and just loving me through my flaws every single day. Like I said, it's not natural, for somebody to make as many mistakes as I'm going to make, say wrong things, do wrong things, have bad attitudes, good attitudes, and still commit to loving that person through it, and doing it as gracefully as she does it. It's admirable. That's the person that I look up to, and because nobody knows you better than you, and to be privileged enough to wake up alongside someone who will make that type of commitment and deploy it in action every single day is that's next level. So
yeah, it is next level. Yeah. This is like marriage counseling on the Todd Millionaire Podcast.
I can't deal. I'm about to be looking crazy.
So I have 2 last questions. These are questions that I ask everybody. The first question is, what is your favorite business book?
My favorite business book. I would have to say Phil Knight, Shoe Dog. Phil Knight, Shoe Dog. And I actually just recently read that book, and it's just it's admirable to understand, because I feel like I'm in similar places in my business, to where, Nike's in its, we talked about the 2-year mark, Nike's in its 8th year, and it's making money. He's like, look, and I have to spend, a lot of people get business mistaken. Business and hustling is 2 different things. We can sell a house, get a check for selling that house, and we can hustle. But once you start operating like a business and scaling, they think like, oh, you got a lot of money now. But when you're scaling and operating like a business, having to pour that money back into the business, so eventually it's on autopilot and operating without you, just to realize that he's in his 6th, 7th, 8th year selling $1 million annually worth of shoes, and all the banks are like shutting down on them. Like, wait a minute, I'm making money. I'm selling shoes. Like, the lights are about to get cut off, and all my he's got factories at this point, and still, banks are like, look, you're too risky. How can somebody be too risky? And he can prove to you, like, I'm selling millions of dollars worth of shoes, and just pulling every single penny out of 3 different factories just to send a check overseas to get the shoes back. And when I'm thinking like, oh man, I'm sitting on 3 houses right now, and you know what I mean? And I'm trying to still acquire houses, and I'm in an arena to where I don't have a pay. It's profits. It's not wages.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh man, I got a lot of money hanging out there in real estate, and the bills are still due every month, and the phone is still ringing with people who are motivated to sell a house. So just understanding, like, people think like, oh, you selling houses, you making crazy money. Like, every single dollar to my name may be tied up in real estate. I don't have any liquid at some points in times and things like that. So just understanding the perseverance, and that edginess and that boldness to just, like, look, I'm going to keep doing it. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to slow it down. I'll just pull every single dollar. And that's kind of what I find myself doing, like leveraging partners, leveraging this person, leveraging that person, leveraging this, leveraging that. It's like, wait a minute. Like, do you understand? Like, you have no liquid right now. Like, hey, I believe in what I'm doing, and,
mm-hmm.
The floodgates will open eventually. So,
yep.
So.
Nice. It's interesting. I read that book maybe like 6 months ago. It exposed me to the realities of things. A lot of times what people will think is they'll see a company like Nike and they'll just assume it was always easy street. They'll assume like he dropped a shoe, it was a hit, dropped another shoe, it was a hit, dropped another shoe, it was a hit. Yeah. And that's kind of what I learned even after reading the Kevin Hart book.
Right.
Is Kevin Hart had a similar story. All the stuff that Kevin Hart did up until like his most recent movies was all considered a struggle. It was success, but it wasn't really the level of success he's seeing now.
Right.
And so like a lot of people, when they're trying to get out there, they want to be on Kevin Hart level from day one. And then I realize you might have to go through 15 years of struggle, 10 years of struggle, 8 years of struggle. And like, when you look back, it'll still kind of be somewhat success. It's kind of like if you aim high, your failure will be higher than other people's success. So it's like Kevin Hart's failure was like soul plane.
Right.
And there's some people who wish they could do a soul plane.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Last question is, what does wealth mean to you?
Wealth means to me impact. I've said it a couple times in the podcast. Impact, influence, which again, I'm starting to really subscribe to the philosophy that that's better than money. When you can really change, wealth gives you the resources to really affect and change your community, your environment, your relationships, your everything around you. It's a tool that can be used to provoke the change that you want to see and be in the world. And understanding that, wealth to me is also legacy. You know what I mean? It's not just me. It's everyone connected to me. So wealth to me is impact, it's influence, the resources and tools to really provoke what I consider major change and influence.
Nice. Where can people find out more about you as a person, you in regards to any business, any products that you have out there? Where can people find you?
The number one place that I'm halfway doing right in terms of producing content and being able to be reached is Instagram, DW Real Estate on Instagram. Please reach out to me if somebody wants to help me with social media. I'm in a point where, again, we've touched on Gary Vee a bunch of times. I am extremely underperforming I'm on Facebook. You can find me Demetrius Wright on Facebook, but that's not as strong as it should be. I'm on LinkedIn. That's probably still got my realtor stuff on it. And I'll say all that in conclusion to this because I'm actually in the business. I'm actually, my wife tells me all the time, like I'm actually managing rehabs and running back and forth to Home Depot and calling back sellers and meeting sellers to where I smack myself because I understand like, wow, that could have produced a fantastic piece of content. And
yeah. Document, don't create, man. Document, don't create.
Document, don't create. The pictures that I could have, the videos that I could have, but it's just like I'm too in it to understand like, oh, I need to take a picture. Like I don't have, you know, and that type of stuff is real work. That's why a lot of us probably our social media channels aren't as. So Instagram, DW Real Estate. If anybody wants to help me with social media, shameless plug, like I need some help with documenting and
hit him up. If you guys can help him expand what he's doing, definitely contact him, DW Real Estate. This has been episode number 64. I appreciate you all for listening to the podcast consistently. I appreciate you for coming on the show. This is going to be a very strong, power-packed episode. My name is Charles Oglesby, also known as Todd Millionaire. If you are interested in joining any of our investment clubs, either for stocks or for real estate, you can email us at membership@capitaltodd.com. You can find us at the website, capitaltodd.com. This has been episode number 54. Again, Charles Oglesby, also known as Todd Millionaire, signing off. Very cool, man.